Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hey Google, stop!
Hi friends, it's Sanam with Exit Realty BlackRock, and today we have attorney Sarah Lemay with Kane, Hartley and Kane out of Glastonbury. She's here because I wanted to talk about something really interesting that's going on. We've noticed that a lot of sellers happen to have recording devices in their properties. And so when I take my buyers out, I simply tell them to keep their thoughts about the home to themselves because I don't want anybody potentially overhearing what we're discussing. But I wanted you to kind of share with us some of the legal repercussions and maybe some advice that you might have for sellers.
Sure. So my best advice for sellers is if you have a Google Home in your house, if you have an Amazon Echo, a Siri, anything like that, even baby monitors, pet monitors, those fun things where you can watch your dog from home and maybe feed him a treat or something, anything that listens, whether it's passive or active, fight the urge to listen in when people are touring your home. I understand that you want to hear what people are saying. You might learn some interesting things that might help you move the property faster, but there's a lot of potential legal consequences to what you might be doing. There's two possible ways that people could actually put legal liability on you for listening to them. There is possible criminal legal consequences. But the interesting thing about Connecticut is that for criminal issues, we are a one-party consent state. So if somebody listening in is considered part of the conversation, you've given consent for them to record it. So let's put that aside for now. The more interesting part is the civil liability. It's a two-party consent state for civil liability in this state. So even if, if Sanam's recording a conversation that I'm having, if I haven't consented, but she has, there's still civil liability there potentially. And I could take Sanam to court in the Superior Court for money damages or attorney's fees. Aside from actual legal consequences, there's some negotiating consequences beyond that. Say a buyer is really interested in your home, but you've been listening in and they find out. That might really make them back away from your property and you could be back at square one. As a seller, you could lose a lot of negotiating potential as well. So there's a lot of things that could really come back at you if you do that.
Now, what if a seller has a recording device and it's in an obvious area? So a buyer kind of notices it, so they know to not say anything. Is that acceptable because it's kind of out in the open? It's not something that's hidden?
Yeah, so it's an interesting legal area right now because when the laws were written, maybe 10, 15 years ago, they really had phone calls in mind. They didn't consider these possible technologies of the future where you can be in one room and listen to someone in the other room through literally a computer sitting in your house. So even if it's become socially acceptable to use these things on an ongoing, continuous, normalized basis, that doesn't mean it's necessarily legally acceptable yet. It's not really a litigated issue in the state. So I would say if you have these in your home and you have any intention of actually listening to people who are touring your house, you need to tell the other party that that's a possibility. And the best way to even further insulate yourself from any possible consequences would be to get consent in writing from every party that comes into your house to tour it, that you may or may not be listening to.
I think that's great advice. I feel like it's becoming such a social norm. Again, you can buy these devices for super cheap online and people can watch and control anything from anywhere remotely. It's kind of scary and exciting, but scary. And from a negotiating standpoint, it can really impact a sale. So so sellers, if you're out there and you are recording, just make sure that everybody is fully aware and like Sarah said, have that consent in writing. And buyers, just be aware that not all sellers may be up to speed on some of the do's and don'ts because this is a newer arena that we're dealing with. And so when you are walking through a property, just keep your thoughts about the property to yourself until you've vacated the property where you can have that conversation offline with your real estate professional. So very good. Well, thank you so much for watching and we'll see you next time.